Well, there you have it. A history-making season, it must be said, in football. As Manchester City were making, history on the right side, you had Sheffield United on the other hand. How do you consider 104 goals across 38 matches? It's indeed appalling, to say the very least. But it's what happens when you are not, a formidable side and you meet the likes of free-scoring Manchester City or Arsenal or Liverpool. They will definitely tear you apart, as it were. So I'm sure Sheffield United will learn their lessons and hopefully, they get back to the Premier League in the not so distant future. But now joining me to discuss the English Premier League, a review of what we saw over the weekend and the season as a whole, is Adelakun Tunde, who is a football scout and coach. And I also have Kayode Ogunride, who is a Manchester City fan. Let me start with Tunde Adelakun. Tunde, it's good to have you on the show. Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Yeah, let me get your thoughts as quickly as we can. Manchester City champions, was that the end you envisaged? Are they deserving of the title? And what do you make of this season's title race, considering how very competitive it was?
It was a very competitive title race, of course. We enjoyed seeing what Manchester City did. Unfortunately, for clubs like Arsenal and Liverpool, who were punching above their weight and trying very hard to break that barrier, they did very well. They prepared better than they did the previous season. But unfortunately for them, Manchester City did not relent. You know what they're like after Christmas. Every season, we thought that maybe this one would be one too far away for them to break. But once they get into that mode, once the momentum kicks on, they just go. And they went this season as well, and there was no change. So, worthy champions Man City. Unfortunate for the likes of Arsenal and Liverpool, who did as well as they could and who deserved to win the Premier League title from the kind of football that they were playing, but they still had that stumbling block, Manchester City, in the way, and they couldn't shake them off.
Okay, let me get the thoughts of Kayode now. Kayode Ogunride, who happens to be a Manchester City fan. You do not have many of them, especially in this part of the world, but few of them are definitely, vociferous, if you want to say, considering how fiercely devoted they are to the club. Kayode, good evening. It's good to have you on the show. What do you make of the club's triumph for this season?
Hi. Just a light correction. It's Kyle, actually.
Oh, Kyle, I beg your pardon. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we did have a very large fan base, even in Nigeria. We are not just the kind of fan that make too much noise and rub it in people's faces. We know it's painful enough to lose the league, so we shouldn't be there to add more salt to the injury. But yeah, I think it's been a wonderful season. To be fair, it's not been our best season, and that's actually why other teams should actually get scared. It's not been the best season for Manchester City. Our key players were out for extended periods. We had De Bruyne out for 6 months, and we had Haaland out for a long time too. Our keeper was injured 4 times within the whole season. It's just been a bit of stop and start season as a whole. But then they understand the business of getting the job done. So winning the last 7 games, not losing any match in Etihad across all competitions, even Champions League. It's except for the penalty kick, it's been phenomenal. And I think the biggest fear should not really be this season. The biggest fear should be what will happen next season.
Okay, gentlemen, let me get Tunde's thoughts on this. And this is because there's been a bit of controversy concerning City's win and how deserving they are of it, especially from Arsenal fans. They are definitely riling, considering Manchester City have 115 charges right there leveled against them by the Football Association for financial breaches. Let's hear from Arsenal fans. When we get back, I'll get your thoughts concerning this and how do you think that affects the credibility of this historic win from Manchester City.
It's been a great year. It's been a phenomenal year. We've done as best as we could. Mikel has had a phenomenal time. It is what it is. You cannot beat a City team who have cheated their way to the league once again.
Personally, for me, I don't want to win a league on an asterisk. I don't care what they've done, what the charges are. If they get charged, they get charged. But for me, I want to win the league and win it properly, regardless of what happens with them.
as much as they've got charges and everything and all whatnot, they're still a brilliant team. As much as we can hate whatever, what they're not, like, it's what happens on the pitch what dictates what happens, don't it, at the end of the day. So get rid of Pep and then maybe we've got a chance. But until then, we are the team in the making, and we are going to get there sooner or later, 100%, without fail.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm sure you heard the right there. Arsenal fans talking about the charges. That looks like, the dark cloud that is just hovering around this historic and unprecedented, fourth successive title for Manchester City. I'll start with you, Tunde Adelakun. What's your thoughts concerning that, argument that Manchester City are not deserving of the title, especially when you consider that within the same season, Everton had about 8 points deducted, from them for financial breaches. The same thing with, Nottingham Forest, and City have 115, and nothing has been done since last season when the charges were, leveled against them. So, do you think that dark cloud is really hovering around Manchester City's title, celebrations, and do you think they're deserving of the title, really?
There are no dark clouds, I tell you. I find it rather unfortunate for people to sound the way they sounded. The games were played, 38 games were played, football was played. I'm by no means a Manchester City fan. But football was played by football players on the pitch. They didn't care what charges were being brought against them. They didn't care. They did not force Manchester City to do what they did, if they did anything, allegedly. And let's face it, everybody who is complaining about these charges, if they had the kind of money that Manchester City had, if they had the money, if the people from Abu Dhabi had come into their clubs rather than to Manchester, would they not?
Kaiwa, you're apparently a Manchester City fan. But do you think those allegations are sticking against your club right about now? Or you think it's just one of those flimsy excuses football fans, want to throw around during bans and what have you? What do you make of that allegation that the financial breaches is definitely hovering around City's title win and they are not deserving of the title?
So I'm going to speak on two sides. I'm going to speak as a fan, and I'm going to speak as an analyst.
Okay.
As a fan, who cares? Yes.
Okay.
So, as an analyst, if you really look at those charges, 115 of them, hardly is anyone. In fact, last time I checked, most of them are around situations that happened between 10 to 6 years ago. So it's not determining the fate of the football club within the last 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
So if you're complaining about the times of Manchester and why we won the trophy and that trophy should be stripped from us, it's a totally different conversation from the phenomenal job the guys have done this season. And all of those things predated Guardiola's era anyway. So it's normal that losers bigger, so it's fine. And I had a very funny conversation with the Manchester United fan quite recently when the club was up for sale and we were considering different options for purchasing different buyers.
Okay.
And there was a hint at some point that there was some money coming from the Middle East, and girls like, oh, please, let them come. But we are complaining about Manchester City, and I know we don't care. So like Patrick said, if the investors were come to their club, they would have grabbed it with two hands. So it's just what it is. But the only way I'm going to agree with today slightly is no, we're not tired of Pep, man. We want it more. We want it to spend another 10 years.
Okay, let's turn our attention now to, the season as a whole, not just for Manchester City as champions. Let's look at, other teams. Liverpool, Arsenal were in the running until late on when they fizzled out, especially for Arsenal Football Club, who fought till the very end. Liverpool, were out of the title race for the last 3-4 games, as it were. But the likes of Chelsea, we saw that resurgence in the second half of the season. Some would say they left it too late in terms of a Champions League football for next season. But using this season and how it ended as a projection for what to expect next season, do you think the top 4 guys for this season will still be the ones, next season? Well, maybe with the exemption of Aston Villa, considering the fact that Chelsea is on a resurgence, Manchester United, you expect an overhaul right there. Do you think next season will be as competitive as this? And do you think the same top 4 teams, or top 3, let's go with top 3 teams now, will be there next season? Let me start with you, Tunde.
The dynamics will be the same. The
Okay.
top three, or shall I say the top six, will still hover around one another. I'm
Okay.
not sure what will become of Aston Villa, going forward, because their season crumbled at the very end in a very, very bad way. But so I don't know what's going to happen with them. I don't think I know they played some good football going in, but I don't think they were deserving of a top four slot over the course of 38 games. But the big boys will come back, and the big boys will be the big boys again this time next season. But what we're going to get, as always, as we have had in the last few seasons, is there will be one breakout, one team that will come in there and spoil the party for the top four. And there was a Newcastle season before the just concluded one. It's Aston Villa now. It could be anybody. It could be anybody coming season. It will be just as competitive because there's a lot more money being pumped into the game in England at the moment. The winnings are growing. Everyone is earning a lot more. And so they're going out into the market and bringing quality players into their clubs. So for sure, it will be competitive. I think top six is what people are now raking at. Yes, top four for Champions League, but top six is what people are now guiding at because they know that that is the Eureka, that is the big, big, big one for them. And I think the teams will be there or thereabouts. Now, my Chelsea, I have to say, we're aiming for top four next season. And I tell you what, to the previous speaker, watch your backs, guys.
Okay, Kiowa, what do you make of the Golden Boot race? Erling Haaland wasn't his best season, had injury concerns at some point, but still ended up winning the Golden Boot award. Talking about the highest goal scorer right there. Do you think we'll see that trend continue into next season, especially with other top strikers coming into the league?
So I actually think that Haaland is actually a victim of his own excellence. I think he set the bar so high that it feels so hard, and the expectations from me are just too high. And with any season where he's not be able to meet that expectations, then it's considered a flop.
Okay.
In any year, anybody scoring 26, 27 goals in a Premier League season is a fantastic output. And having done that when you're 1/3 of the season, you're on the bed, on the sick bed, it's phenomenal. To be fair with you as a fan, if you can give me the same return next season, it's good for me. It's good enough for me. There are not many Premier League strikers that are doing 25 plus goals every season. Very few, if there's any. We used to have the likes of Harry Kane, not anymore. So if he does that, then it's fine for me. But what I think that next season will be quite unpredictable.
Okay.
Man U is going through a resurgence. Chelsea is looking like the players are gelling more, playing better together. They're beginning to understand their dynamics with the new coach better. Liverpool really don't know. Personally, I'm not sure about the pedigree of the new coach. So it's Arsenal. I'll really be impressed if Arsenal can maintain the momentum next season. They will literally run through campaigns with the same props of players. That is quite difficult. We've seen that from the days of Liverpool, where if you pursue 2-3 seasons, the next season they will have to drop. To maintain consistency has been difficult. So, but the only thing I'm scared of is this is a season where Manchester City has dropped momentum, and yet we won the league. Next season will be bloody.
Okay, let's wrap up, the review of the English Premier League now by looking at, Premier League winners over, the years from 1992 up to this moment. And I'm putting both of you on the spot now. For next season, it looks like it's a Manchester City era and no one can stop them. Not even, Jurgen Klopp, when his Gengen pressing, as it were, was at its peak. City edged twice with just a solitary point. So the question to you guys would be, how do you see next season pan out in terms of who wins this? I'll start with Tunde Adelakun. Do you think anyone can challenge City for the title, and who do you think that will be? Or it's going to be City all the way?
It won't be City all the way. City will be the team to beat. A lot of clubs are there. They want to challenge City. They're desperate to challenge City for the title, and they've got the pedigree to challenge City. The danger is that they will be killing each other dropping points, knocking points off of one another, and that will be to the advantage of Manchester City. That's the only thing that I see, because I feel like, Chelsea will come up trumps against Arsenal. Arsenal will come up trumps against Manchester United. Liverpool, we don't know where they're going to be, to be honest with you. I don't know. Kaiwa said it all. I don't know about this new manager. I don't know. Man United will be going through stuff, but they'll be chalking up points off of one another. And when City get onto that role, that difficult role, that's why I say we're tired of Pep. He knows how to get the best out of them. I mean, when I say I'm tired of him, I'm not tired of him in a bad way. I love the way the job he does. I love it the way he does his job. But he is going to be the one to be again next season. Very strategic. He's got a very good recruitment team behind him. When he goes and brings on these players that are seemingly mediocre and turns them into champions, you just won't know when it happens. So they will still be a team to beat, but I'm hoping that one of us, hopefully in blue, will be able to challenge till the very end of the day.
When you say the blue, let me play the devil's advocate. Which blue? Citizens
blue.
also wear blue, you know. Everton wears blue. Okay, Kaiwa, in about 30 seconds, Kaiwa, do you think it's City all the way next season, or we should see a very competitive next season, just as we saw this, past season?
To be fair, as a football lover, I love competition, really. I prefer it going down to the wire than winning the season 10 games before the end of the season. It gets a bit tiring and boring at that point. So I'm really hopeful that a team will challenge. I'm really hopeful. I think this new era of Arsenal is a good era. And to be fair, if Arsenal had won this season, I would have congratulated them. They deserved it. So I just wish anyone who's worthy, who deserves it, fight the battle. To be fair, if you win 5 seasons in a row, fine to me. And if you lose it at 4, it's fair. Either way, the history books have been written. So kudos to the players there.
Well, we'll see how next season pans out, talking about title contention as well as relegation battles and the jostle for European football for next season. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time on the show this evening.
Thank you. Sure.